We're going to talk about highlights, we're going to talk about challenges, and we can't go there without talking about the 1984 crash in Michigan.
Was that the highlight or the challenge?
Well, Jesus, you put a car on the wall. Tell us about it.
One of the occupational hazards, of course, of our game is if anything goes wrong, you're going really fast. And particularly in IndyCar racing. I left Formula One in 1982 and started to do IndyCar racing. And suddenly we went from lap speeds of 150 miles an hour average to 220 miles an hour average. And when something goes wrong at that speed, you can imagine. And it went wrong for me at the Michigan International Speedway in 1984. I lost control, hit the wall at 217 miles an hour. The car literally exploded. 14 surgeries later, which included bone grafting, skin grafting, a toe traumatically amputated, crushed left ankle, bone graft from my hip, broken hip joint, pelvis, ribs, lacerated liver, broken hand, broken arm.
What was left?
Third-degree burns. So that was definitely one of the challenges.
But you went back, you recovered, and you got back in the car.
The interesting thing is, I don't remember the accident. I remember losing control, and I remember them taking me out of what was left of the car. In the middle, I don't remember anything. In situations like that, friends come to the hospital and they ask you questions, would you go back to racing again? Or an even more pointed question, why would you ever go back racing again? But when we talked earlier about my dad and at 12 years of age, when he took me to see my first race, he also said to me back then, which I didn't understand back then, he said, if you do this, he said, always remember, you'll be completely responsible for the legacy that you leave in the sport, which meant nothing at that stage until I was almost killed. But then I realized I never wanted the legacy to be my accident. And once that sort of computed in my brain, it drove me back to physiotherapy at a faster clip maybe than normal. And 8 months after, without being able to walk properly, I was actually back in a racing car on the starting grid of the Indy 500 the following year, and it was the only time I ever finished the Indy 500, despite the fact that I could hardly walk to the car.
That's drive.
Maybe people don't realise, Derek, you have a son that races as well. And at what stage, having gone through an accident like that and your son kind of grows up and goes, I'm good enough, I'm quick, and I'm going to start racing too. And at what stage do you try and make the distinction between the boy that saw that van and the thing and you almost been killed in an accident when it's your own flesh and blood that's doing it?
My son Connor is now an Indy 500 driver. And so I get the question all the time.
Yeah.
But what if? What if, something happened to him? I can never think of that because I think any parent can only wish that their siblings would end up doing what they love to do, what their passion is. Right. And you can in the world that we now live in, anything can happen. So I would never, ever want to slow him down and steer him away to something else because I know it's his passion. That's what drives him. You just hope that it's safer today, but it is safer today because of my accident. Because that started the greatest drive on car redesign to make cars safer for drivers. And now drivers can literally hit a wall at 200 miles an hour and walk away.
Unbelievable. What was your biggest challenge?
I don't know after that. No.
Himself.
It doesn't necessarily have to be
after this,
or even a tough competitor.
My biggest challenge is just getting up every morning, trying to get the money to go racing and trying to get to the next level. Every single
push.
Every single day you wake up since I decided I wanted to be a race car driver in 1977 until I wasn't going to be a driver anymore. You're trying to figure out how am I going to get, you take your car home, it's in a million pieces, and you crash it again, and there's no money, and just trying to get to the next level and just hustle, no matter what,
Highlight of your career?
I think probably the highlight of my career was testing the McLaren, Nicky Lauda's McLaren Formula One car.
Tell us about that.
At Silverstone. That was by far the best car and the best feeling that I ever had, driving a car around a track that's just got so much grip and so much. I mean, my only goal that day was to show the team managers from Theodore that they were wrong and I was right.
Oh, back to the Irish, showing that you were right. Right.
I will say he was faster than Nicky Lauda on the day in that car.
Nobody's ever done what I've done before in a test like that in 25 laps. It was crazy fast. 25 years later, I met one of the mechanics that worked on the car that day, and he told me that I wasn't driving the fastest car that day. And I said, well, yeah, I was. I mean, I got out of the Cartier boots and got out of it. I got into it, you know, same car, got the pedals fitted. The month before at the McLaren Super Factory, he goes, yeah, but we didn't give you full throttle.
They hobbled the car.
And I said, what? He said, no, we were told not to give you full throttle. Gas over here, throttle over there. I said, why? I didn't even know. I didn't even put two and two together. They just didn't like me. And he said, I don't know. He said, I guess they just didn't want you to go fast. I still went a second lap quicker.
So now it's the highlight and the challenge all in the same story, isn't it?
So you're the fastest in the car and they hobbled the car.
Yes.
Wow.
Gave you like 10% off throttle.
I don't know what it was, but
it was certainly it wasn't the same throttle.
It was enough that I went from a different gear because I figured, and it all brought it back to me. And not only did they give me the hobble the throttle, they gave me the fake times. They didn't give me the right times either. I did exactly the same time 3 laps in a row. In those days, we didn't even think to bring somebody along with me.
Of course.
I trusted McLaren. McLaren's the #1 team in the world. Why would you think to hobble the Irish guy? But man, what a call!
If you were to pick one race out of all your races, what was your best single victory?
The one when I went, I think I flew back from, I think it was like Monza somewhere, and I didn't qualify in the Formula 1 car. And I got back into the Formula 3 car the next morning, and I won the race after being blocked for 18 laps. It's on TV. The guy kept putting me off. Dave Scott, he blocked me for 18 laps.
Is that the brake check story?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a brake check. He just blocked me, put me off the track for 18 laps, and then he made a mistake. And
you had him.
And I went on to win. And of course, you know, that's one of the reasons I won the Formula 3 Championship that year. But it was just, that was my #1 best race that I've ever done in my life.
Derek?
Might be the Sebring 12-hour endurance race. Sebring is probably the second most important endurance race in the world next to the Le Mans 24-hour race. I was lucky at the end of my career that I was able to drive for Jaguar and Nissan in the heyday of Group C sports car racing. I mean, we had the fastest cars, the biggest, best teams. And we went to Sebring, big budgets in those days, yeah. The first time I ever went to Sebring, I was paired with Jeff Brabham. Most teams will bring 3 drivers for 12 hours because you have to go flat out for 12 hours. We always try to do it on 2 because you control the environment a bit more. My teammate was Bob Earl at the time from San Francisco. Bob got sick right after his first stint. I ended up driving 7.5 hours of the 12 and went on to win the race.
Fine job.
Yeah. It was one of those times where everything is thrown at you. Everything went right. You stretched yourself right to the end, and you just came away with a sense of satisfaction.
Was that a Nissan or a Jaguar?
That was a Nissan GTP car. Yeah.